All right. So I have been, when I Zoom with my daughter on Sundays, I have been she's 15 years old. So I've been taking a song that she's familiar with, from an artist that she likes, and dissecting the deeper meaning and teaching her. I put on my teaching cap and I have this time with her. It's sometimes between 5 and 15 minutes during our time together. It's not all of our time together, but it's just really fun. And I say, okay, class is in session. The basic topic is things you won't learn in school. And, basically it's happiness class. Teaching happiness. What are the skills of happiness? And so last week we did Meghan Trainor's song, I Feel Better When I'm Dancing. And it was so great. I was like, wow, I wish I had recorded it because it was a wonderful way to inspire, educate, teach, share, whatever the hell we're doing. So this morning, let's start with that. Let's do a little song and then we can use it. And this is one of my songs from when I was in my 20s. I don't know how I did it, but I wrote some really profound songs that were way ahead emotionally of where I was at. And many of these songs I'm just sort of growing into, realizing that I'm learning the lessons now. That I was somehow given a preview of coming attractions and the song was like a trailer for a movie that took me 40 years to write or to star in. And this is one of those songs. It's about having the courage to say no. And a lot of my songs are about saying yes. I have a song called Say Yes to Your Dreams. And yet for many of us, saying no to something that is not true or something that is not fitting our expansion is a prerequisite in order to say yes. So I think A Course in Miracles calls it proper use of denial. That's another way of saying it. The word reprimand that came up in today's session, steering a child away from, let's say, the fire. Oh, that's hot. You don't want to put your hand on that. To where that attention is best served. So this is a song of mine called Enough to Say No. Many of you know that I've been finishing up a book called Mindful Masculinity. And what's very exciting to me right now is I've been doing the audible version, the voice book. And I was guided to include like a whole concert of my material and talk about why I wrote the song and what it means to me and all that. So, you get an audible book and there's like bonuses that are not in the regular book. So that's what I've been putting together. And this is one of the songs that's going to be in the audible version of the book. A boy approached his manhood at the dawn of a war, and soon the time for service had arrived. And though he loved his country and his flag he adored, he questioned where his true allegiance lied. My country, right or wrong, was how this boy had been raised. A soldier goes to battle when it's time, but the man that was emerging had some new things to say, for his spirit was a warrior of another kind. He said, I love me so, enough to let go, enough to say no to war. He said, I love me so, enough to let go, enough to say no. A woman loved her man with all her heart and soul. She married him and took on his name. But every day his life became more out of control, and every day she felt more pain. Patience was her virtue, so she gave him his space. She tried to be accepting and kind, but after 20 years with him, she just had to face. His first love was the bottle. She was next in line. She said, I love me so, enough to let go, enough to say no to this. She said, I love me so, enough to let go, enough to say no. A daughter loved her father like his number one fan. He was the best and only daddy in her world. Sometimes he did things to her she didn't understand. She was a terrified and lonely little girl. After 40 years of silence locked inside of her shame, she started coming out of her shell. For a while all she could feel for him was rage and blame. But as she learned to live her life anew, she learned to wish him well and say, I love me so, enough to let go, enough to say no to shame. She said, I love me so, enough to let go, enough to say no. Sometimes love says yes, sometimes love says no, and sometimes loving burns along the way. But it's the holding on that hurts so much, and not the letting go. For is it really love until you know that you can say, I love me so, enough to let go, enough to say no to you. I love me so, So there's several things I want to open up the space for, and the first is how um, just join me in celebrating how that song is going to reach people, touch people, men and women. I'm so pleased. That song came out in 1990, uh, and now it's like reborn. It's like, well, now I have some energy behind the book to get it more out there. I wasn't into promoting, and at that time I just would put music out and then go back into the studio and get busy recording more, but I never bothered to like really, get the music to the people who could most benefit. So I'm so pleased. And if any of you have any thoughts or feelings around what that song could open up for yourself, your relatives, or just people in general, I'd love to hear you, and so that you can join me in that sense of celebration and validation. Good. Just unmute. Do it.
Okay, I just did it. I'm Midge, and I've been watching you for quite a while, but I don't ever come on a video because it's early in the morning for me. But that song is like knocking at the door, like Vicky was talking about today. I'm knocking at the door going, hello, where am I going now? Because next week I'll be 77 years old. And I'm like, holy shit, that's a long time to be on this planet. And I look at my life. I've done some wonderful things. I had a wonderful life. I have been a great, I became a great mother with great children. But now that's all sort of behind me. And I was listening to James today about his story about how Namaste evolved. And I'm kind of at that knocking at the door.
Nice.
Hello, spirit. But that song, I believe, will touch many souls, but people that are in all of a sudden their life is really pretty much not done. We're not done, but but what now? Where do we go now?
Right. And the medicine of this song, I'll ask this of you if you want to answer. Um, what you're knocking on the door, you're uncertain, which is a beautiful thing, right? To not know of what you're about to say yes to. Is there anything, a pattern, a belief, a behavior that you first need to say no more? Use the medicine of that no before the door opens by itself and you walk right through.
Oh, I am sure there is something there.
Well, you have your homework, and maybe on Friday of next week you can report back.
What is that? Because I've saw lots of people come to you with their question, with their
Yeah,
here I am.
a specific issue, and that's what I invite you to do is come back and get clear about what you want support for. Like, use me. I'm here for you. Jeshua is here for you. And it's important to ask like a really clear question to get a really good answer.
Okay, so I'll come back with a question.
Right, and remember to brush your teeth.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
So the floor is open. I would ask that you don't spend 5 minutes telling a story about things, but just get to either what you celebrate about that song or how it moves you to be more clear about what you need to say no to, so that you can come to a deeper, all-pervading, penetrating, heart-throbbing yes.
Well, for me, I spent a lot of time people pleasing, and so learning to say no was a very difficult task. And I think this song will help people learn that it's okay to say no. And so I think it's going to touch more than just people that have difficulty in relationships. It's going to touch people that have difficulty relating with themselves and honoring themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, the people pleaser. Oh my goodness. That reminds me of I'm not going to do the whole song, but the beginning of this song of mine called Fully Alive. Being the all-time nicest guy sure feels like a social disease. It doesn't matter how I feel inside, as long as the people are pleased. Lately I've been into honesty. I do my darndest not to lie. Telling the truth feels like a risk to me, but every time I tell it I feel more alive. I mistrusted the waters, pushed the river aside, created a drought. Now I was following orders, now I'll follow the tide. I'm letting my passion out. I'm feeling fully alive. I'm out in the open, nothing to hide. I'm feeling fully alive. I'm through it just coping, I'm ready to thrive. I'm feeling fully alive. Love is my Bible, light is my guide. I'm feeling fully alive. Done with survival, now I'm here to thrive. That's half of the song. Actually, you know what? The next verse has so much meaning to me, so let's do it. Most of my life I have been on the run. Being human sure can be hard. I blame my troubles on most everyone, including myself and God. Gradually I stopped the running game and met the enemy face to face. Looked in the mirror without praise or blame and saw that I've been running from a state of grace. I mistrusted the waters, pushed the river aside, created a drought. I was following orders, now I'll follow the tide. I'm letting my true self out. Okay, that's enough. I love those lyrics. Most of my life I've been on the run. Being human can be hard. Thank God we're not human, but I blame my troubles on most everyone, including myself and God. Gradually, I stopped the running game, met the enemy face to face, looked in the mirror without praise or blame, and saw that I've been running from a state of grace. Wow. All right, so the floor is open. You have 15 minutes of my beautiful serving, loving time, and I'd love for you to make the most of me. State your desires, needs, questions. Celebrate with me, commiserate. Put your ego out there to be illuminated and healed. All starts with pressing that button called unmute. Yeah. I love that little hesitation people feel. Oh, gee, what would I have to say? And So let's take a deep breath together, maybe a few seconds of breathing, and see if you feel called beyond that fear of expressing yourself. Like, just breathe a little bit and see if there's a calling or an inspiration to go beyond that inhibition. That is that the right word? Yeah, inhibition.
I'm called to ask you what living in a state of grace is.
Oh, thank you. So the question is, wow, what is living in a state of grace? Well, first of all, it's pretty practical. It means you're relaxed. It means you're in the flow, and ease is your compass. Ease is your guiding light. It's allowing life to be easy. And as I said earlier, it's not getting in the front of the car and steering the car and worrying about the brakes and when to apply the brakes or when to accelerate. All of those responsibilities of the designated driver that your ego thinks you should be. But it's really sitting in the passenger seat, letting the window down, be more like a dog. Enjoy the view and let the Holy Spirit be the driver. So that's grace. And a state of grace is our natural state. However, because of our conditioning, it seems unnatural at first. And we don't trust it for a while until we start to do it and then experience the ease that comes with getting out of the driver's seat. Thank you for the question.
You're welcome. Thank you for that. And what have you noticed that takes you out of your state of grace repeatedly so that you get yourself back into the state of grace? What kinds of episodes or happenings?
What kind of episodes or happenings take me
Yeah.
out of the state of grace?
Yes, take you personally and then you realize, wow, I am not in a state of grace anymore. I just reacted to the.
Sure. Well, for me, it's changed over the years, but it's pretty. It's guilt and fear. What else? What else is there? But the ways that guilt and fear manifest are change as I grow. They become more subtle, maybe sometimes even a little harder to recognize. So my greatest and most honest teacher is my body, because my body will always tell me how much guilt and fear I'm letting into my field. And it shows up as holding my breath, tensing my muscles, and building stress. For whatever reason my mind justifies, it usually thinks that stress is the responsible thing to do. And I would say projecting into the future is one of my ego's favorite ways of stepping out of the state of grace. And we all know that there is no such thing as stepping out of the state of grace. It's all pervading. There's no opposite. But we can dream it because we have active imaginations. So, yeah, one of my big habits, still working with it, is futurizing or even lamenting about the past and mistakes that I perceive that I made, and regret and guilt and sorrow. So I'll wake up in the middle of the night, right? And I don't go back to sleep. And I know why, because my mind is going to either the past or the future. And the future is pretty exciting, I'm very excited about the future. But that excitement, it can be really stressful. It's a mixture of anxiety and hope and optimism, but really it's just the mind addicted to projecting stories, possibilities about the future, which destroys my ability to feel the state of grace that I'm in right now. So the projections into the future, for me, are mostly very positive projections. But for most of my life, I would project scary stories, negative, fearful outcomes about my future, and then same thing, pump adrenaline through my system, and that's what anxiety is. Anxiety doesn't exist in the present moment. Anxiety is caused by not being in the present moment, but being caught up in the scary stories about the future.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. And I especially like that you say we never really do step out of that state of grace. We just perceive or dream that we are. So just waking ourselves up, wake, set off a cherry bomb, awakening. Thank you. That was a beautiful answer. I love seeing you this morning. Thank you.
I love being seen. So who else would like a little time, a little sharing, a little caring that requires just a dash of daring on your part? All right, well, it's not Silent Friday, so I'll jump in and say a few things. uh, God, the week has been so beautiful. I think I've experienced James and Vicky just go deeper into grace than ever before. And it feels like each week there's more happening, more grace, more illumination. And recently, a French woman, actually, I think she arrived yesterday or maybe the day before. Very interesting character. Virginia is her name. And she's been walking around while I'm working on my book. And I just noticed her yesterday, and I noticed her countenance. You know that A Course in Miracles says, you don't necessarily recognize a teacher of God. They're ordinary. But if you look, you can see there's serenity on their forehead. You could see when you're looking that there's something serene and peaceful and very present moment that can be misinterpreted as ordinary. Well, I noticed that serenity around this French woman, and I said to her, "You are so, so beautiful and serene." And she said, "Oh, in her French accent, thank you for noticing. Wow, not everyone sees that." And I said to her, "Do you have a message for me from the universe?" I love asking that question. I ask that question to strangers on the street. I just ask that question whenever I'm guided. And most of the time people have a pretty good, they just shock themselves and me by tuning in. Everybody's a guru. You just have to give them permission. So I asked her that question, and she said, "I'll check." And a moment of silence. And she said, "Yes." And she said, "It's about your sexuality." And do I want to hear this? And basically, she said, "You're learning to channel sexual energy in such a way that you don't need to act it out, but to allow it to be divine, to raise it up from your, kundalini or second chakra or whatever word she used, so that it serves the universe. You procreate love. and I have these two amazing friendships with beautiful, very attractive Mexican women, and I am not acting out sexually with them. They're not available, and even if they were, there's definite clear guidance to not go there, and to, in a sense, be in love with them and see them as reflections of my ongoing relationship with the divine feminine, how my divine feminine love affair is opening my heart so beautifully here in Mexico. So she validated what I have been experiencing. And I asked her about herself. What? Tell me more about what are you doing here? And da, 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 da. And she said, well, about 6 months, maybe a year ago, she said, I had been asking the universe if there is a place I can be at, I can go to, where everything is about light and love, and that, like, where the new consciousness that is being birthed inside me is being birthed inside everyone who lives there. And she was guided to read a book, and it was one of James Twyman's first books, Emissaries of Light. And then she went online and looked him up and found this thing called Namaste Village. And she watched some of his morning sessions, and she tuned in, and her guidance said, not yet. There's a little transformation he's going to be going through very soon, and when he completes that, then you'll be a match, and you'll be going down and visiting. And so 3 months went by, and she watched another morning session, and she got the chills, the guidance that said, okay, yeah, now I get it. So James, Vicky, and all of us, we are evolving. We're not the same as we were a few months ago. And it's beautiful because I can watch people unfold here and know that I'm unfolding and that my eyes are getting more sensitive to the art of transformation, because I'm growing and changing alongside everyone. And of course, it's not limited to Namaste Village. There's an acceleration. Jesus, through Helen, called it a celestial speed up, and that was in the 1970s. It has speeded up. Another interesting thing, and I have to say goodbye, actually. This French woman, she came to the Course in Miracles class yesterday, not knowing anything about A Course in Miracles. And she did a lot of questioning Amrit, slowing things down, trying to understand. And basically said to me after the class, I felt the truth, but I also felt the energy of the human being. I said, yes, Helen shook me. And she said, yes, she got in the way. She didn't fully and clearly, she wasn't a pure channel. And we talked about that. And I had to agree with her. That was the 1970s. And the channel, whether it be Helen or James or me or Vicky or you, it just keeps getting clearer. Every year we're getting clearer. I told her, Virginia, you are not going to find a book that fits with your accelerated evolution, because you are the book. You are A Course in Miracles, and you're accelerating so rapidly that there is no book that can contain the unlimited frequencies of your soul. You are the book. And that's my closing words today. You know, you are A Course in Miracles. You are A Course of Love. You are the latest and greatest revised edition of the Christ. That's it. That's all I got.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank
Well
you.
done, Scott.
Thank you so much.
Oh, Brother Scott, thank you very much.
Thank
Bless
you, Scott.
you.
I
You
felt
all.
it.
Happy
I
weekend.
am the
everybody.
latest edition of the Christ in me. Thank you.
Yes,
Every
yes.
year it gets revised, and guess what?
Yes.
It.
Thank you.
You are the foundation for inner peace.
Oh, amen.
Mwah. Next week.
Bless you. Bless
Love
you.
you.
Thank you,
Adios.
darling.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, family.